Most vampire stories begin with fear, with running, with finding, but not this one. Ryan Coogler flips the whole script because it's not the people that are afraid when we see this movie open, it's the vampire himself. In Sinners, we open with the Choctaw Nation hunting a vampire. They're not waiting for it to strike, they're tracking it, watching, ready to confront it. That moment changes everything because it says that this tribe already knows what they're dealing with. They've seen this kind of evil before, just not with fangs. And it leads to a deeper question: why them first? What's the deal, my people? You know what it is, Don Tony Teflon. I'm back at you, another one. And this one is Sinners. We are going to talk about the whole connection between the Indians and the Irish and why Ryan Coogler made this decision to have them first off confront the vampire. It's going to be a great video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and also hit that thumbs up button. 500 is the like goal to trigger the YouTube algorithm. Let's do it. To understand everything, we have to go back, not just to 1800s, but to the intertwining histories between the Choctaw people and the Irish. Two cultures shaped by betrayal, starvation, and survival. The Choctaw Nation is one of the oldest groups in the southeastern United States. Their ancestral homelands include Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana. Long before the United States existed, the Choctaw were agriculturists, mound builders, traders, and diplomats. They cultivated corn, beans, and squash. They governed with a complex system of leadership, not monarchies, but councils rooted in clan consensus and respect. They were known for their balance of diplomacy and strength. During the 18th century, the Choctaw aligned with the French and later the Americans, hoping political alliances might preserve their people and culture. They were one of the so-called 5 civilized tribes, a label given by the colonial powers to tribes that adopted certain European customs, like literacy, Christianity, centralized governments, but that civilized designation didn't protect them. In fact, it's what placed them first in line for betrayal. In 1830, President Andrew Jackson signed the Indian Removal Act. It gave the U.S. government the authority to relocate native tribes west of the Mississippi, forcibly if necessary. The Choctaw were the first to be removed. They signed the Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek under pressure and with promises of protection. In return for giving up their ancestral homelands, the U.S. promised land in present-day Oklahoma, supplies, and support during this relocation. But none of those promises were kept. Between 1831 and 1833, over 15,000 were forced to make the journey west. Thousands died from disease, exposure, and starvation. One leader at the time called it a trail of tears and death, and this was the first recorded use of that term. The Mississippi River froze that winter. People starved along the banks. Entire generations of family were wiped out. It was said that they looked like walking skeletons. What they endured wasn't just displacement, it was an attempt to erase them, and yet they survived. While they were rebuilding in Oklahoma, across the ocean, another tragedy was unfolding. In 1845, a fungus infected the Irish potato crop. This led to the Great Famine. It lasted from 1845 to 1852 and killed over 1 million people. But it wasn't just a natural disaster. Ireland was under British rule, and during the famine, the country was still exporting grain, meat, and dairy to England. While Irish children starved in the streets, food was being shipped out under armed guard. The famine was weaponized. British landlords evicted tenant farmers in masses. Coffin ships transported desperate Irish across the Atlantic with disease and death spreading below the deck. It was more than crop failure, it was colonial failure. And it left the Irish with a collective trauma not unlike the Choctaw. Now, even though this is a sad story, in 1847, something miraculous happens. The Choctaw, having just suffered their own forced relocation, heard about the Irish famine. They recognized it, the starvation, the broken promises, the mass graves, and they chose to act. They raised $170 worth thousands today and sent it across the ocean to aid the Irish famine relief. This wasn't a government donation, it was grassroots, personal, spiritual. It was empathy across distance and culture. That gift cemented the bond between the Choctaw and the Irish, a bond built not on trade or politics, but shared suffering, and a refusal to ignore another people's pain. Today, in Cork, Ireland, that bond is honored with a Kindred Spirits monument, 9 giant steel feathers rising like a prayer. So in Sinners, why does the vampire go to the Choctaw first? Because he knows their history. He knows they helped the Irish. He knows they've taken in wounded, the exiled, the broken. He pretends to be one of them, maybe even a refugee himself, someone who carries pain, and he uses their empathy as an invitation. The same gift of compassion that crossed the ocean, he weaponizes it, but he underestimates them. Because the Choctaw don't just feel compassion, they remember betrayal, and they know what it looks like when something arrives wearing the face of the suffering but hides something darker beneath it. They recognize predators. So they don't welcome him, they hunt him. The vampire in Sinners isn't just a creature of folklore, he is a metaphor. He represents empire, exploitation, systems that feed off others to survive, that arrive hungry and leave ruins. The Choctaw have seen that before. The blacks have seen that before. And the Irish have also seen that before. So when he shows up acting like the victim but moving like a monster, they don't hesitate. They don't wait to be devoured. They strike first. Because survival doesn't always look like escape. Sometimes survival means standing your ground and remembering. This is why Ryan did it this way. Not as a horror film, but as a memory play, a confrontation with old ghosts and wisdom to face them head on. There's a deep undercurrent in Sinners, a shared memory of pain. The Indians remember forced marches, the Irish remember famine and exile, and the Africans remember chains, being brought across oceans in slave ships, laboring under an empire's whip. All three peoples suffered under systems of domination and greed. In fact, in the same decades of the Trail of Tears and the Great Famine, millions of Africans were enduring the final brutal chapters of the transatlantic slavery trade. Plantation economies in the American South thrived on the labor of black bodies, forcing them to work lands that were taken from the native people. Their pain intersected. In Louisiana and Mississippi, Irish immigrants dug canals alongside enslaved Africans. In some cases, enslaved people and Native Americans intermarried, sharing knowledge and protecting one another. It's a history of overlapping grief, but also one of solidarity, of recognizing another's suffering and refusing to let that pain define the future. So this is how Ryan flips the script in Sinners. When the vampire shows up, he just doesn't show up hungry. He just doesn't show up wanting to suck people's blood. He arrives performing pain. He mimics trauma. He tells stories that sound familiar: exile, suffering, betrayal. He adopts the appearance of someone seeking refuge. He uses symbols from the natives, Irish, and African cultures to blend in so he can be accepted. But what he's doing is something much older: cultural theft. Colonizers have stolen for a long time Native American dress, African rhythms, Irish myths, and not to preserve them, but to consume them, to sell them, to disempower their original meaning. This vampire is no different. He steals culture, performs pain, and uses it to feed. He builds trust through shared trauma, then becomes the very thing that hurt them all. He is not a victim. He is an empire in disguise. This vampire isn't just folklore. It's a symbol of systems that feed, that drain others to sustain themselves. Colonialism, slavery, exploitation. This vampire is every empire that has ever arrived with a flag and a lie. Every system that masked domination with friendship. Every invader who mimicked the native tongue before drawing the knife to cut it out. But this time, the people knew better. This time, they remembered. In Sinners, the horror just isn't the vampire. It's truly about forgetting. The Indians didn't forget. The descendants of the enslaved Africans didn't forget. They saw the monster wearing their grief and they faced it. And that's what the movie is truly about. Thank you for joining me. I truly appreciate it. Again, if you could hit that thumbs up button, get me to 500 likes, I will truly appreciate that. Subscribe if you want more videos. I will be doing a live stream this week, about 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours, discussing everything. You'll be able to call in, talk to me, give your points just like you do in the comment section, but you'll be able to do it live to me. Again, thank you for all the support on all these videos. I truly appreciate it. And if you like the way I do this, please thumbs up this, spread this across the realm, and of course, subscribe. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace and stay sexy.